Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. This week we're going to talk about ceiling light installation, and we'd like to thank Stuart Clow for liking and sharing the podcast. The best lighting in homes in the 1700s was beeswax and spermaceti candles.
What's that?
So spermaceti is this waxy material found in the head of sperm whales, and they called this the best candle in the world at the time because it was odorless and it didn't cause a lot of smoke. In the 1800s, gas lamps provided more light in homes, and it's credited with increasing the literacy rate in many areas of the country. And then gas lamps used for lighting in the streets in the late 1800s is credited with reducing the crime rate. In 1878, Thomas Edison and Joseph Swan, an English chemist, both came up with working incandescent lights, and it wasn't until the 1920s that we started getting ceiling lights in homes. Replacing a ceiling fixture is a pretty easy project, and you always want to turn off the power to any circuit you're working on. A shock under the right conditions can be deadly, and the two main electrical testers to have for electrical projects is a non-contact electrical tester and a multimeter. And you're going to be able to do all the basic electrical projects around the house with these two testers. But if you're just moving into an existing house that had a previous owner, I would also pick up an outlet tester and test every outlet in the house just to be safe. And this is going to let you know whether your outlets are grounded and polarized for safety. And it's also going to let you know if you have any other wiring problems.
Okay.
Some top-rated electrical testers: Klein, Sperry, Amprobe, it's A-M-P-R-O-B-E, and Fluke, F-L-U-K-E. And the last couple of projects I did, I've been using a headlamp, so it is very convenient.
You're going for the minor look or what?
You have both hands free, and anywhere you put your head, or anywhere you're looking, that's where the light goes.
Really?
So it's very convenient. So a couple of the top-rated headlamps: Phoenix, F-E-N-I-X, Coast, and Black Diamond. Once you're working on your electrical project and the electric's off and you've double-checked it with an electrical tester.
And you have a headlamp on.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, it's so much more convenient than trying, because I'm usually putting a small flashlight in my mouth, when I'm working, so the headlamp is much better. So you want to turn off the electric, you're going to double-check it with your electrical tester, and then you're going to take down the old ceiling fixture. And if you have a surface-mounted light, you're generally going to have a nut in the center of the globe. You're going to have to remove that. Or you're going to have a globe where the whole globe just spins to release. Or you could have set screws on the side of the shade, and then once you get the globe off, you're going to be able to get to the screws so that you can remove that fixture.
Okay.
For a chandelier, you're usually going to have a nut on the canopy that covers the electrical box in the ceiling. For semi-flush lights, you're probably going to have a couple of cap nuts that unscrew off the canopy, or you'll have a finial.
What's that?
So your finial, it's just like a decorative cap nut.
And that needed a special name?
Yes, because it's fancy. And with pendant lights, they're generally going to have a canopy nut or cap nuts.
Are you going to explain what each one of these things looks like?
So with a flush mount light, the fixture base is tight against the ceiling with the shade to cover the light. Semi-flush, it's usually a few inches down. So what's interesting about a semi-flush is it can be one piece that looks like two pieces, or it can have a center rod to the shade or multiple decorative rods to the light and the shade.
Okay.
Chandeliers hang down and have multiple bulbs, and these come in a wide range of designs now, from kind of a classic design to modern. And one pro that I saw, he recommended if you're putting in a chandelier, have it about 30 inches above the dining room table and get it about half the width of the table, and that has the best look. For pendants, these are usually one long pipe or one long electrical cable coming down from the canopy to a light with a shade. But you can get multiple hanging lights on the same canopy. You can change your ceiling fixture to track and rail lighting. So you can have one track mounted on the ceiling off a decorative canopy, and some have systems to connect angled or curved pieces, so you can create a real unique look and a lighting pattern. Some are going to have fixed locations for the lights, or they can be moved, and this allows you to really spread the light out, or you can highlight objects.
Okay.
Once you remove the old fixture, you want to take a look at the wires and the box. Most ceiling boxes are either going to be round or octagon, but in older homes, you're going to run into a variety of shapes and sizes. The round box for ceiling lights use a thicker number 8 screw rather than a thinner number 6 that you find in switches and outlet boxes. So you're going to have an 832 generally, so it's a number 8 size screw, and then 32 threads per inch compared to a 632.
Okay.
Which is a number 6 with 32.
Yeah, got it.
So in older boxes, you also might find a hickey.
What's that?
So this is a fitting with 2 female threaded openings. The top hole goes into the top of these old boxes, and then the bottom is for a threaded pipe nipple, and that holds your canopy in place with a nut. And this is taking the old boxes with 3/8 inch pipe down to 1/4 inch pipe for the new fixtures, but they can come in a variety of sizes.
Okay.
The new code for ceiling boxes is you're required to use a mounting strap or a fixture strap to the ceiling, and this is going to connect to your light fixture. So the mounting strap is this thin metal rectangular bar that you're screwing into the electrical box, and this gives you 2 threaded holes for a fixture, and it also gives you the option of a center threaded hole if you have a threaded pipe nipple. It's also going to give you a grounding screw or a grounding clip. So in old homes with small boxes, this mounting strap, or they call it a fixture strap, or crossbars, this is going to extend past the outside of the box, and it's going to give you 2 properly spaced holes for modern fixtures.
Okay.
So the problem with old boxes, what they found is homeowners, because the new fixtures wouldn't line up with the screws, they were only using 1 screw to hold in their light fixture, and with heavy fixtures, they're tearing out.
Yeah.
So now the new code says you always have to use a fixture strap, and now you have 2 holes to properly put it in. And if you have an older home, and when you put in a fixture strap, you're screwing into your drywall or plaster, you may want to mark that and then pre-drill pilot holes, and that way the screws will go right up into the ceiling.
Okay.
In your ceiling box, you should have a black or red wire for hot, a white wire for neutral, and a bare ground wire if you're using non-metallic cable. For older homes or homes with metal conduit and metal boxes, you can have a black or colored wire for hot, and it could be red, blue, yellow, or purple. White or gray is going to be neutral, and in areas like Chicago, Seattle, and parts of New York with conduit, the metal conduit is carrying the ground, so you're usually not going to have a ground wire.
Right.
And if you do in those areas, it's going to either be bare or green. And if your wires are very old and the insulation on all the wires is the same color, you can test to find the hot wire, and then I would mark that with electrical tape so you knew which is your hot and which is your neutral.
Are you going to explain how to test the wires?
So you're going to turn off your power, double check the box to make sure the electric's off. I like using a non-contact electrical tester.
Me too.
Because once you turn it on, you just have to put it by each wire. You know whether there's power or not. So you're turning the power off, you're double checking, make sure the power's off. You're going to separate all the wires so nothing's touching. Turn your power back on, and then take a non-contact electrical tester, put it by each wire. You'll find the hot. Turn the power off, and you're going to mark that wire with tape, and now you know your hot wire.
Okay.
So if you have a home wired before 1985, you want to use
Because you would know that?
Yes. Well, most people, if you purchase a home, you're going to have a feel for when the house was built. And if you don't know, then you should... Well, the problem, that I was trying to get to, is there are a lot of fixtures that they found are very hot, especially in the ceiling. So they're now requiring that all fixtures are labeled. If they create too much heat, they have to be labeled, use with wire rated for at least 90 degrees Celsius. And what this is telling you is you can only use this in a house that was wired after 1985. And so, because if you're using this in an older home, a fixture that creates too much heat can dry out and damage the insulation on old wires, and it can cause shorting or arcing, so it can potentially be a fire risk. And then if you're unsure, so if you don't know, then just use a low heat fixture.
Okay.
And then these are usually your LEDs and CFLs, and those are going to save energy also. You also want to check the weight of your fixture if you're installing a large chandelier or a semi-flush fixture. Standard ceiling boxes are rated up to 50 pounds, and they have to be securely fastened to a joist. If you have a heavy fixture around 50 pounds or more, you can use a ceiling fan rated box. So this is going to have heavy-duty threaded holes. It's going to carry more weight. And inside the box itself, it's going to be marked with the weight rating. And you can install this with a mounting bracket or a joist brace. And this type of bracket, it can be screwed to the joist if the drywall is removed. And then you can get one for old work, so you can remove the old box and you can put this joist brace up into the hole. It expands and locks into place, and then you connect your ceiling box right to that.
So you don't have to cut out any drywall with that?
Right, and it's going to carry a heavy load. A couple of the top-rated joist braces. Westinghouse has their safety brace, so it's SAF-T-brace. And Rayco, R-A-C-O, they have their retro brace. To connect your new light fixture, you may need a helper on a ladder to support the light while you connect it.
How else are you going to do it?
Sometimes you can kind of cradle it and hold it. And I've connected a lot myself where you're kind of balancing it.
You don't have any friends?
I wish you wouldn't bring that up. So connect black to black or your hot colored wire if you have conduit, and white to white. If you have multiple black or white from your fixture, make sure you use a wire connector rated for your wire size, which is usually going to be 14 gauge, and the amount of wires you're twisting together. And when you're connecting the solid house wire to the stranded fixture wire, you're going to remove about a half an inch of the insulation from the solid wire. Then from the stranded wire, remove 5/8 to 3/4 of an inch, and then use a wire connector with a spring inside. And having that spring and the stranded wire longer, it's going to wrap itself around and give you a very good connection, and make sure you're always twisting it clockwise. If you have a ground wire coming out of your house and a ground wire from your fixture, you're going to connect those together with a green wire connector, and then you're going to create a 6-inch length of green wire as a pigtail. So you're connecting the ground wires, you're connecting this extra little wire that's green in color because it's a ground wire, and you're connecting that pigtail to the screw or the clamp on the fixture strap. If you have a fixture without a ground, so inexpensive fixtures sometimes don't have a ground wire, then you're just going to connect the house ground to the mounting strap if you have one. If you have conduit and no ground coming down out of the electrical box, and you have a fixture with a ground, then you're going to use the fixture strap, the green screw, and you're going to connect that ground wire from the fixture to that. So basically, if you have ground wires, you're connecting them to the green screw on your fixture strap. And then your fixture is going to have screws or bolts or a threaded pipe, and these are going to be connected to the mounting strap to hold it all together. If you plan on using a dimmer switch with your light fixture, make sure the bulbs are dimmable, and many of these fixtures are going to come with bulbs, so check the label. Not all CFLs or all LEDs are dimmable, and a big complaint with LED bulbs is flickering when you use it with a dimmer switch. So you need 3 things. You need an LED bulb that's rated as dimmable, you need a dimmer switch designed for LED dimmable bulbs, and then you need to set the minimum load level.
Well, you should watch our video on this.
So on our Fix It Home Improvement channel, we have
on YouTube.
We have the steps. But to set the minimum load level, if you have an LED dimmable bulb and an LED dimmer, you're going to put the dimmer in the lowest setting. You're going to turn the tuning dial. So this is a dial or a lever on the main body of the switch itself.
Right.
So you can't have the cover on when you're doing this. Put them both to the lowest level. You're going to turn on your switch, have your bulb in, and you're slowly going to increase this tuning dial till there's no flickering, and that's setting your minimum load level. And what's interesting is different bulbs or different manufacturers have different load levels.
Right. So you could have to do this a couple times.
Right. So when you change your bulb, you're probably going to have to reset the minimum load level.
Who knew?
Yeah, interesting.
What about the dimmers that are like single pole and 3-way dimmers in the same switch?
So this is becoming more popular. It's the same switch, and you can use it as a single pole dimmer or a 3-way dimmer, or they have switches like that too, like the Decora switches. So rather than a standard lever, Decora, they've got the rectangular paddle switch.
Isn't it Decor?
Those Decora.
It's not Decora.
Decora.
It is not Decora.
Decora.
Stop saying it.
So we had to stop the podcast and look that up. So Decora is the brand for Leviton with their decorator switch, and then Decor is other brands.
Right.
Or it's their Decor
so I'm
switch.
right, you're right.
So there's dimmers that are packaged as single pole or 3-way dimmers on the same switch. And these are going to have a dark colored screw terminal and 2 light colored screw terminals. One of the light colored screws is going to be covered with tape. And if you're using this as a single pole dimmer, so you only have one switch that operates your light, you're going to use the dark and the uncovered light colored screw. And you're going to keep the other light colored screw covered with tape.
Right.
And these are going to mark with what side they want up on the switch. And most of these want you to use the feed wire. So the hot coming into the box, they want that wire on the dark colored screw, and then the other hot wire going up to your light on the light colored screw. And so the way you're going to find out which is the feed wire, so the hot wire coming into the box, is you're going to turn off the power. You're going to separate the wires so nothing's touching. Turn back on the power. You find the hot wire, mark it, and this is going to be the wire going to the dark colored screw.
Right.
If you're using your switch as a three-way, or if it's on a three-way circuit, so you have two switches that operate your light, now the dark colored screw becomes your common. You're going to take the tape off the light colored screw, and your two light colored screws are going to be your travelers. Just got an email that I thought would be relevant to this podcast, and it says, we just bought this house and moved in a few weeks ago. It has an outside light connected to a timer, and it looks like it's prehistoric. I'd like to replace it with a simple light switch. So coming out of the wall is a red, white, and black wire. I'm 100% sure it's not a three-way. I figured I would need two of those wires to a single pole switch. Not sure what to do with the third wire. I was Googling it, trying to figure it out. If I only had two wires, should I use the red, white, or black? Hope this makes sense to you. I can usually replace a switch when the wires line up, but I don't have enough knowledge above that. Thank you so much. Let me know where I can send a beer. I'll owe you. So I wrote him back. Your timer is using a neutral wire, so that's not a standard switch.
Right.
So a single pole switch, you have two screw terminals and a ground screw. With a standard single pole switch, it doesn't matter. It's just a break in the hot, so it doesn't matter what wire you put to what screw terminal. And also, like we were talking about those unique double switches where it has a dark colored screw and a light colored screw, in that case, they want you to have the feed wire on the dark colored screw. But a standard single pole switch, you just connect either hot to either screw terminal. So I wrote him back. I said your timer used a neutral wire, so you're going to cover that with a wire connector, and you're just going to cap that off. And then you're going to connect the black and the red wires to a single pole switch. It doesn't matter which screws. Attach your ground to the green ground screw, and that will do it. So he wrote me back, worked like a charm. Thank you very much. Please let me know where I can send the beer.
Why would you bring this up in this podcast? Were you just excited somebody emailed you?
So I just wanted to make the point that there's never a neutral wire on a switch. A timer switch is unique. A standard switch is just a break in the hot. And the new code says if you're running a switch from an outlet or let's say to your ceiling light, generally if you're using non-metallic cable, the old way is you would use 14-2 with a ground. You would take that black and white wire, you would use that on your switch. A switch is just a break in the hot. You would mark that white wire with black tape or black paint because it's just a break in the hot. And you don't have a neutral wire in the switch box.
Right.
But you can never add an outlet there or a USB charger or, all these new devices, motion sensors and security. So the new code says if you run a switch leg, you have to have a neutral available. So now you need to run 14-3 cable to a switch. You're going to cap off the neutral, and now you have a neutral in that box available for all these future devices that they're coming out with.
Smart.
So I thought that was interesting. I saw an interesting new light bulb at the last hardware show I went to. It's called the Finally light bulb. It's Finally, and this uses Tesla technology.
No way.
So rather than a filament in an incandescent bulb or diodes in an LED, this uses an electromagnet that creates a plasma inside the bulb, and it makes the phosphors inside the bulb glow.
Oh, exciting.
Nikola Tesla worked with Thomas Edison in the 1880s and developed an AC electrical system rather than Edison's DC low voltage. And he developed the electric power plant at Niagara Falls. And he also tried to create the death beam in the 1930s, and the Soviet Union and Germany wanted it in World War II.
Do you have anything else to add?
I would always be safe. Turn off the electric to any project you're working on. Have a couple of good testers for your electrical projects. And look at the new ceiling light fixtures with integrated LEDs. The prices have really come down. They use very little energy. They're lightweight, and they're easy to install.
Let's wrap this up.
We just sent book 4 to the editor, so we'll let you know when we're ready to launch, and we're going to have it free for 5 days. You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, the Google Play Music app, iHeartRadio, and CastBox.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our books, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at fixitpodcast.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.